Hello ladies and gentlemen, Sonic Yoda from SEGADriven.com and welcome back to our Sonic Amateur Games Expo 2022 coverage. In this video we're taking a look at Sonic Entropy, developed by Regal25. Now, I saw this and saw the artwork and kind of liked the look of it, so I decided to give it a go. But yeah, a little bit deceiving, the old artwork there, and those screenshots on the booth entry are very well chosen to make it look like there's a lot of variety to this. But unfortunately, it feels like a game that was thrown together very quickly using existing assets, which is a real shame. So there's actually a lot of stages to this, and I suppose that's the one thing it does have going for it, is that there's a lot in here, and there's a fair bit of variety. But unfortunately, the stages are not very well designed. There's not really that nice payoff between speed and platforming that I really require when it comes to classic Sonic. It feels like they don't really have a good flow. Like, the actual terrain design itself doesn't really move in a natural way. It just feels like it's sort of like been chopped up and pieced together from existing bits of tile set, and not in a natural way whatsoever. It doesn't even look like pieces fit together in a way that seems natural. It's very slapdash, unfortunately, which is a real shame. Also, there's not a lot to do here. There's not a lot of enemies. You're often just sort of running around very quickly and going down long slopes and generally just building up a bit of speed before having to do some minor platforming and just try and figure out where the exit is. Sometimes the stages were so short that it just feels like they weren't designed at all. It's just like, here's some assets, dump them here, sort of works, okay, that's that. There's no real like attempt at making a challenging stage whatsoever. There needs to be a lot more happening at any given point. I want to be able to platform and earn my speedy section and go around loops and just explore the stages more and feel like I'm being rewarded for doing so. And at the moment it just feels like it's a lot of barren landscape with not a lot to reward you for actually exploring it, and no enemies to really encounter. There are some occasional enemies here and there, but they're very sparse, and it just makes the whole thing very uninteresting and not very exciting to explore, which is a real shame. There's a special stage in here which is like in a test stage at the moment. There's nothing really to find or explore. You're not against the time limit or anything like that. And again, this feels like I've played this in another fan game. There's a 3D fan game I featured in my complete 3D Sonic fan games video called Sonic 3D Extreme, developed by a team called Classic Sonic SAT-AM, and it's almost identical to that engine, like to the point that when you go around the loops and the corkscrews, the camera sort of like zooms out and gives you like a nice angle of the action, and the exact same thing happens in this. And I do have to wonder if, again, they've sourced that engine and just used that for their special stages. So yeah, this whole thing just really feels like an asset dump, unfortunately, and not a particularly good one. It feels like it was thrown together very quickly, with no real thought, no real attention to design or making a challenging stage or making it very interesting. And as a result, because it's assets, they don't fit together very well. They don't look natural. They don't have a lot of detail to them. There's a lot of repeating patterns that just make the whole thing look very uninteresting and uninspired. I was very let down by Sonic Entropy, and I really don't like to be massively negative towards people's fan games, because I know for a lot of people this is like their first attempts at developing anything, and it's very much like, you know, a gateway into developing games, and you know, it's a learning experience for a lot of people. So at the moment this feels like it could well be someone's first experience at developing a fan game, and it's just very rough around the edges and heavily reliant on existing assets, and just doesn't have anything unique going for it at the moment. It's a real shame. It really needs a big overhaul. I think they need to use these assets and just work at their stage design first, right? Work at your stage design, make something longer, make something a little bit more exploration focused, and just work on making an interesting stage that's fun to explore and involves more than just this really sort of stifled jigsaw puzzle of a cut-up stage that has no flow, no speed, no rewarding platforming. You really, really need to focus on getting the stage design down first. And there's nothing wrong with using existing assets for that. But then on top of that, start tweaking the assets, start adding more detail, start customizing the sprite work. Just use that basis of good stage design and then work on your assets afterwards and make them look more unique, more varied, more interesting to look at. That's where this should be going, and that's what it really needs to do in its next release. At the moment, it just looks like something that's been thrown together very quickly using existing assets and very little else. There has been no real thought put into the stage design. It's not fun to explore, it's not fun to play, and I found some really weird quirks with the physics, and it just feels a bit like just slapdash. It just doesn't feel thrown together very well. When you get damage, for instance, all your rings bunch together into like single rings, and when you collect one ring you get like 6 back. It just doesn't, like, they should shower out of you and scatter in a nice like wave. It just doesn't happen. It's very first attempt at a Sonic fan game, unfortunately. That's how it feels to me. And again, I don't want to decry a fan game developer for making something a bit wonky as their first attempt, because I want to inspire them to make something better. But yeah, this needs a lot of work before its next release. They definitely need to work on their stage design first, and then think about tweaking their art assets and making them more unique and making them a little bit more exciting to look at, because at the moment they're just a bit dull, a bit boring and a bit repetitive.